Hi everyone. So yesterday in our 5th grade Elevate group, students learned to understand equivalent fractions using multiplication. Today students are doing the same thing, constructing equivalent fractions, but this time they're using division to simplify. And so the lesson is similar to yesterday. However, in order for them to simplify, they have to understand that they are needing to identify the greatest common factor, right? So if they're being told to simplify 8/12ths, students might say, okay, well, they'll say, I know that 2 goes into 8 and I know that 2 goes into 12. So I'm going to divide both my numerator and my denominator by 2, giving me 4/6. Now, 8/12, based on yesterday's lesson, 8/12 is equivalent to 4/6. However, this is not a simplified fraction, right? Because 4/6 can be further reduced by dividing by 2 again. And so when we divide by 2 again, we get 2/3. Because there is no other number that is a factor of both 2 and 3, we know that 2/3 is our simplified fraction. Now, we want to avoid students having to do multiple reductions, right? So we don't want them to have to do this and be like, oh, wait, it's not simplified. So now I'm going to also have to do this. Best case scenario, students are able to utilize greatest common factor and say, okay, well, what is the largest factor that 8 and 12 have in common? So students can go ahead and create a chart like this where they list out all the factors for 8, they list out all the factors for 12, and just like above, what we notice is that 1 is a factor, 2 is a factor, and 4 is a factor. However, we are going to use 4 because it is the greatest factor that they have in common, right? So we're going to do 8 divided by 4, and then we're also going to do 12 divided by 4, which gives us 2/3. Less steps than example A is what we want to aim for. Okay, so you are going to model for them questions 1 through 3. I would say you can do like a mix of I do. Definitely the first one you want to do an I do. Maybe the second and third one you want to do a we do. Before launching them into their partner practice. I would say no more than 4 people. We do not want them to be confused or super chatty. We want to make sure that we're stamping the skill. The greatest common factor chart is optional. Students do not have to use it. However, if you see that they are struggling, please encourage them to list out their factors so that they will not be confused. I will say that this activity in and of itself is pretty easy only because it's similar to yesterday where they're having to fill in the blanks, right? And so we have 4/8, and we know that we want to figure out what we can divide it by in order to get us a denominator of 2. We know that 8 divided by 4 is equal to 2. So whatever we divide the denominator by is what we need to divide the numerator by. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. Our simplified fraction is 1/2. For question 4, we're going to go ahead and cross that out. Students are not going to do it because the fill in the blank does not work, right? So we know that 15 divided by 3 gives us 5. However, 10 cannot be divided by 3. So this is not a question that works. However, if students want to create their own equivalency, they can. They can simplify it themselves on their own if they know how to do it. And then we're going to do these next 4 questions 9 through 12, independently before gradually releasing students to their 5 minutes of independent exit ticket time. Again, question 16 is just like the question I talked about above. It doesn't work. So students will only be working on questions 13, 14, and 15 for their exit ticket. This is also going to be out of 3 points. So a 3 out of 3 is an A, 2 out of 3 is a C, 1 out of 3 is an F, and then a 0 out of 3 is an F.